Hey, what's up? Hey, everybody. Welcome to the live show. We're going to have one of my favorite guests ever about to be on. I see her smiling at me in the waiting room. I'll just go ahead and bring her on here. This is one of my co-hosts at Tarval and After Dark, Jess the Amerlin seat.
Hi.
Hi. I love your hair tonight.
Thank you. I got it cut on Tuesday, and I feel like a human being again.
I mean, it looks awesome. I mean, because it's because your hair looks so bad before.
I did. It looked like shit.
I'm joking.
I'm not joking.
I was joking.
Shit.
I was just being an asshole.
As one does.
Well, hey guys, welcome. So it's kind of weird. Like, I feel like we're in the calm before the storm again when it comes to Wheel of Time stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I was like I was gonna do a news video, and I had like basically no news other than the fact that they were gonna have the cast on the panel, which we already knew, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was like, okay, I'm gonna postpone that. But then, like, I know once we hit Friday, it's gonna be absolutely nuts because I think we're getting a trailer. I think we're gonna get something, and like, it's pretty damn exciting. To know.
Do you think we'll get a trailer? Because I feel like a panel, like with the panel with the entire cast, do you think they do a trailer on that?
I think they might. It's pre-recorded, so the entire thing is pre-recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be shocked, and I think we're gonna get some type of material. They're main stage at ComicCon, so like New York Comic-Con. I can't imagine it's just an interview. Like, I can't imagine that's all that there's gonna be. So we're going to get something. Now, I still feel like that's super exciting. But before we get to talking about that, first of all, if you are joining us now, go ahead and like and subscribe.
Do it.
Because I know you already like what we're doing here. You already love us.
Yeah.
Duh.
Look at this face.
Look at that haircut. Like my haircut.
Look at his haircut. Look at that beard.
Your beard or my what?
Your beard.
Oh, my beard.
I shaved my beard.
That's good. It's probably good. What I was going to say though is you didn't get to go, but were you still a part of SpoilerCon? Because last week I had Seth on to talk about SpoilerCon. I know you didn't get a chance to go. You were going to go physically, but you couldn't.
Yeah, I ended up having to cancel my trip. But yeah, I was. I laid kind of low. I didn't go to a lot of the events, but I was watching the chat and making sure that, I was getting tweets out and stuff like that. And I did watch some of the Michael Kramer and Kate Redding panel.
Yeah.
And they were a delight, as always. Michael watched the trailer for the first time on the stream.
Oh, wow.
And, then it was so funny because afterward, he was waxing, poetic about, shit, and then Kate was doing hand motions and going pew pew, eye to eye, kind of channeling shit. It was so fucking funny. They're so hilarious. Cute. I can't stand it.
Real quick,
I love them.
Or we have Jason Haddad. Jess looks like it's date night.
Aww. I know. This is my date with Nae'Blis.
Yep.
I decided I wanted to make myself look pleasant.
It's a date. She got all dressed up, and I put on my nicest shirt.
It is a really nice shirt.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's Jordan is classic.
The faded Jordan logo.
Yeah.
I'm moving my hand wrong. And since that tip did not include anything about a wig, Jason, no wig for you. You have to say it. You got to say it. Because I know
about your life.
Yep. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, we did not have our episode of Tarval and After Dark this week, of which you are one of the co-hosts.
That is correct.
We do a podcast together. For those of you who don't know it. We both have YouTube channels, but really the most mediocre thing that we do is our podcast. Is that probably?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Super mediocre. Guys, if you are looking for a really good podcast, do not listen to Tarval and After Dark.
Yeah, look elsewhere.
If you want slightly over mediocre, a little under it, if you want to be underwhelmed, we have just the podcast for you.
Yeah. TVAD is the show for you. 100%.
If we set the expectations fairly low and then we meet them, you'll think
it's the classic. This is classic expectation management. I use it in customer service all the time. Under promise, over deliver.
Exactly. And of course, if you wanted to listen to our super mediocre podcast, you can listen to that at thegreatblight.com/Tarvalin After Dark. But hey, how many Tarvalin After Dark listeners do we have here? Say so in the chat if so, and you can tell everybody how mediocre our podcast is. We'll maybe play a little clip later because everybody loves it when I do that. But no, let's talk about the real news.
Yeah.
The ComicCon panel.
Yes.
So they announced the cast. For everybody knowing, they announced basically the main cast. So it's going to be Rosamund, it's going to be Daniel Henney, then you have Yosha, you have Marcus, you have Madeline Madden, and I think you have Zoe. But you know who is immediately obvious that is not going to be in attendance?
Barney.
So that does lend some credence. I know there was a lot of speculation that maybe that's why we got the release that Matt wasn't going to be in, or that, I'm sorry, Barney Harris had been recast. So obviously him not being on the panel, like, do you have thoughts on that? Like, are you feeling like there's a separation now? Is there something going on? Did it give you any more of an idea than you had before?
Well, one of the things that I'm trying to do, like, in all parts of my life is to assume positive intent. So I'm going to assume that Barney didn't depart because there was any kind of a problem. It was just sort of mutually decided that the best thing for him was, like, he decided to do something else, and that's fine. So what I'm thinking, because they finished season 1 a while ago.
Yeah, they did.
So he's been gone from set and all that stuff for a while and could very well be working on something else. So, or just relaxing and recovering from shooting a season of, like, this huge fantasy series. So I suppose there's a possibility that he's not there because there was some kind of an issue, but, I don't want to make that assumption.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. Like, I feel like this gives a little bit more fuel to speculate, but I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Like I feel like we could probably make guesses now, but either way, I am super excited for the cast that is going to be there, because this is the first time that we're really going to be able to hear, like, we've heard from Rosamund, we've heard from Daniel Henney. We have not really heard from any of the other main cast. Like,
no, it's true. Madeline is pretty active on social media, but in terms of actual, like, stuff about the show,
right,
we haven't heard anything from anybody else, really. So,
gosh, it's crazy because, like, even if we don't get a trailer, we don't get clips, we don't get anything else other than their interviews, I feel like that's still going to be really damn cool. Like,
I think that it's going to be awesome, because if that is a panel that is well moderated, and I have to assume that it's something as big as New York Comic-Con, it's going to be well moderated. We're going to hear from everybody, and we're going to hear a lot of really interesting things about how it worked and what their experience was like and how they feel about their characters and the things that they wanted to bring out in the role and all kinds of stuff like that I think is going to be really, really interesting and just really fun.
Agreed. I think it'll be, I think for us diehards, like, I've watched movies that have Yosha and Marcus and Madeline Madden and Zoe. Like, I've watched the Power Rangers to get an understanding of, like, Zoe's acting. Like, that's the level that we've covered some of this stuff. And a lot of people have obviously seen Rosamund and Daniel Henney on whatever that show he's on. I forget. I'm joking.
Isn't it CSI?
CSI, yeah.
No, CSI, yeah.
And he was also in the Wolverine movie, which was terrible. But he's been in a lot of things.
Which Wolverine movie?
The one, Wolverine Origins. He's like that's the one where Wolverine gets his claws.
Oh.
It's a really shitty movie.
Does it have
was
Hugh
the first
Jackman
time
in
they
it?
tried Deadpool. What?
Is Hugh Jackman in it?
Yeah. Yep. It's Criminal Minds, not CSI. Okay,
Criminal Minds, that's the one.
They're all correct.
I knew it was some
I don't watch
crime
those
procedural.
shows, but whatever. But I've seen them. So, but I think for what I was going to say was, sorry, I got sidetracked. I think for a lot of, like, I've seen these other people and I know how good specifically like Yosha, Madeline, Zoe, and Marcus are.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think a lot of people have a good feel for them, other than seeing pictures. And I think this might be eye-opening hearing them talk. Like, they're all really good. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not at all worried about the Emmons Field Five. Now, one thing I do think is going to be interesting is how they're going to handle the accents. Because
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
yeah, Yosha is Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus is English, right? Madeline
Mm-hmm.
Madden is Australian. They're
Mm-hmm.
all supposed to be from the same place and growing up together. Um, so you would think maybe they might have a similar accent just because they grew up together, right? Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they did or that they do, but if Yosha has a very heavy Dutch accent, I'm not saying that he does or will, but if he does, and then you have Marcus with a very British accent and Barney with a very British accent,
A very different British
different,
accent.
right? Like, is that going to be immersion breaking?
I don't think that it would be for me, but I can see how it would be for some people. Now, we know that Donald, who will be replacing Barney, has got like a really thick Irish accent, but also does really well with other accents. You know, I feel like with stuff like this, and they did this for the Lord of the Rings as well, because they had British people and they had Americans and, you know, people from wherever, and they wanted there to be like a specific Middle Earth accent. And so everybody went through diction training. And, you know, I think Elijah Wood told a story about when they were on Weathertop and Sam and Merry and Pippin were cooking at a fire, and Frodo wakes up and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's supposed to say it in like his Middle Earth accent. But he, in one of the takes, he sounded hella American. He's like, "What are you doing?" Like, so, I honestly, I would assume that, especially because everyone's accents are so disparate, that they've got all of the actors going, like they've determined a sort of dialect or whatever for each region, and they're sending people to dialect coaches to work on that. I would honestly be surprised if they weren't. But
I know they are, but there's only to a degree. Like, to bring up Elijah Wood, his accent is terrible in Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's kind of comical sometimes. Sam, like, I can't. And it's nothing against Elijah Wood. I thought he did a great job, but like, he clearly doesn't sound like Pippin, right? Like, they're
no, actually, yeah, Billy Boyd just kind of, was that his name? No.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that guy's name? Is it Billy Boyd? Yeah, he just sort of sounds like himself.
Right.
So,
and I think to a degree, people. The reason I don't think I actually don't think it's immersion breaking if they have different accents, because I don't think you'll notice it after a minute.
No, I don't think so either.
I think you might up front. It's sort of like when they change actors for Matt. You'll obviously notice it, but then you won't notice it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
like, you can get used to anything, honestly. Like,
yeah. I just Dutch is a very. What I found is Dutch people know English very, very well. I have a number of Dutch friends. Like, they speak English very, very well, because it's like they learn it from watching TV. However, the language is sort of like Russian, and it's not like Russian, but to be clear, but like, it's very difficult to get rid of your accent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's the same way in Scandinavia as well. My CEO is Danish, and he's lived in the States for a really long time at this point, and he does not sound any less Danish than he did, you know, at the beginning. So, you know, I think those are definitely accents that make it really difficult to break them. But yeah, I'll be interested to see, especially, like, and I know that Madeline Madden, I believe that when she did Dora the Explorer, she had an American accent in that.
Well, English to American, I think, and vice versa, we've at least seen done a lot. So I'm not as worried about the Irish to English. Like, I'm not as worried about those. I am worried about the Dutch to English. That's probably the one that I'm the most worried about, in terms of it being. Now, that could just be feeding into Rand feeling different, right, from everybody else. Like, maybe that feeds that. I don't know why it would be, but
yeah, I mean that's the thing that's weird is that, you know, you grow up someplace and you talk like all the other people who are in that place. I mean, that's how you learn to speak. So it seems like having lived in the Two Rivers since he was a baby, he would grow up speaking like all of the other people there, despite the fact that he is not, in fact, from there.
Right.
But, I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
It is a fantasy world. They can make up whatever rules they want to.
Well, and like I said, I think you'll notice it, and then after a while, I think you won't. I just think that it goes away because you just become so accustomed and used to it. Like, as I'm thinking about it, I never once stopped and was like, all 4 of the hobbits are from the Shire. How come they have different accents? Right? Like, I never once said that. Right?
Yeah, I never.
I just never thought.
I had so many other issues. Accents were not on my radar.
Well, you are a Lord of the Rings fangirl, and I am too. Actually, I am a big Lord of the Rings fan. I had fewer problems probably with the adaptation than most did because I never thought they'd be able to do what they did in the first place. So I was happy that we got it because I always thought that as much as I love Lord of the Rings, I think there are parts of it that drag, and I thought that it wouldn't necessarily make great movies. And I think Peter Jackson did a good job of threading the needle. Like, what is it?
Oh, yeah.
Not to get off on the subject, but like specifically about the Fellowship of the Ring, not the other two, because the other two I think were much worse. But with the Fellowship, what didn't you like there? Like, what was the not?
Actually, I didn't really have any problems with Fellowship. The one that's at the very top of my shit list is the Two Towers, primarily because of the way they did Treebeard and the Entmoot and all that shit. I am naturally change averse as a person, and I have worked really hard throughout my adult life to become more comfortable with change and to accept change. And my big thing is if something has to change and you want me to accept it, there needs to be a reason. There needs to be a valid reason for it. And what they did with the Entmoot and the way the Ents all decided to go to war, didn't see the point. It was fucking stupid. And I'm like, what the shit did you do here? This was dumb. Also, I didn't like that they had John Rhys Davies do Treebeard's voice as well as Gimli, because you could totally tell it was him, and that kind of pulled me out of things a little bit. Not that he did a bad job. He did a great job. But it was just sort of, it was very obviously John Rhys Davies, and I was like, really? You couldn't find anybody else to do this? So, and then they didn't do the Ents, like, marching to war song, which I was really looking forward to hearing, so I was disappointed that that wasn't there. But then, what they did with Faramir and the whole, like, taking the hobbits back to Osgiliath and all of this other shit, and, like, they assassinated Faramir's character in just the worst fucking way, and I hated it. Oh, it made me so angry. It made me, like, it's still now. Like, what? When did that movie come out? Like, the early aughts?
Yeah.
I am still angry in this, the year of our Lord, 2021. I am still pissed off about it. Like, I'm like, no, you can't do that. You have to make him different from his brother to show that men can be strong. You don't just have Aragorn as that example. The blood of Numenor ran through in his veins, for fuck's sake. Come on! So, yeah, that made me extremely angry. And I don't think that I had any issues. I didn't have any huge issues with the Return of the King. I didn't like when Frodo sent Sam away.
Yeah.
I thought that was bullshit. I hated it. I didn't see what the point was. But otherwise, it was good.
Creating drama.
I guess.
Are you excited for the Lord of the Rings series? Not to sidetrack onto Lord of the Rings, but like, are you excited for it? Are you like? I imagine you'll watch it, right? Like,
yeah, I'll watch it.
Are you super excited for it though?
I would say that I am very interested in it. I think it'll be really interesting to see their take on this sort of period in history that, they're going to be filling in a lot of blanks and things like that. I think it'll be fun. Because, as much as I am a history nerd for like normal in real life stuff, I am also a huge history nerd for fantasy. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really like Tolkien, is because there's history there that you can geek out over.
Before he wrote the books.
Yeah, exactly. And it was all because he felt like Britain didn't really have, like, in and of itself, outside of, invaders and shit like that, it didn't have, like, a folk history. And so that's why he wrote it, because he wanted it to have, like, this sort of fantastical folk history. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with it.
I'm in the same boat. Go ahead.
What's that?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it'll really be interesting, too, to see what they're able to do with CGI now that they couldn't do back then. Like, I remember, I think it's probably in, like, the special features on the extended version DVDs, which I watch fucking constantly. Yep. They were talking about how there wasn't any good CGI fire. They had to make their own CGI fire, and even then, like, it doesn't actually look that great. Like, it was really good for that point in time, but it wasn't that good, So,
see, I agree with that, and I don't, because they advanced all the CGI, and then Peter Jackson decided with The Hobbit to go full CGI, and I hated that. Like, I hated I don't like the Hobbit trilogy at all, really. To me, it felt like a total money grab, and it wasn't as entertaining. I don't know. I struggle with The Hobbit, but
I also struggle with The Hobbit. First of all, there was no earthly reason you need to make that into 3 movies. There was no fucking reason to make that into 3 movies.
No,
there just wasn't.
Making a lot of money.
It's a fucking children's book.
Hey, remember
For
when
God's
you
sake,
on our podcast, Miss F-Bomb Pirate Sailor here? Just giving you crap.
I know.
But we are on a podcast. We're not on our podcast where we can just swear up and down. But I hated the CGI there. Now, here's what I'm excited for. I am excited for it because, like you, I'm a very much like history buff. Like, I love in the Wheel of Time. I love talking about Arthur Hawkwing and the breaking of the world, and like, I like the historical thought of like all these different civilizations came and went, and so I find that really interesting. And getting to see Numenor is going to be cool. Now, again, last thing I'll say on Lord of the Rings, the thing I'm really
so rad.
I know it's cool, but here's the thing that has me thrown off on that. The teaser picture they showed has the 2 trees. That's Valinor, and that's way before Numenor. Why would they show that? Anyways,
we haven't gotten like a ton of information on it, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm not like super stoked about it, is because there just isn't enough information for me to get stoked about. But that that image.
Well, I mean, it does get you stoked, but it's like, now what is this about? Like, I know that
what is it now?
They keep talking about Second Age, but that's way earlier. So
it could be a flashback kind of situation. They might do kind of a little bit of an info dump about sort of the Valinor and the Maiar and all that shit, sort of how the world got created, the way they created the different races, all that shit. So,
how do you?
Yeah, Shelob was bad enough. Ungoliant is going to be fucking
Ungoliant after
terrifying.
Consuming the trees. Not to welcome, by the way, to the Lord of the Rings live show.
You're welcome. Somebody called Philip said that I'm bad. Bad at what?
Bad.
Just out of curiosity.
Maybe a bad biatch. I don't know.
Hey, Jess, is there any event from the early 2000s that you're still outraged over? How much time do you have?
Well, okay. So, moving away from Lord of the Rings, back to Wheel of Time. Let's talk about Twilight now, by the way. Team Jacob, or I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
Oh, fuck. I listened to that, like, the first book on audiobook, and I, like, dead ass just laughing my ass off. I had to back it up and, like, re-listen. Like, did she really write that on purpose? Like, what the fuck is this?
I've never read the books, but I'll tell you what. The movies are so bad they're funny. Like, they fall into the category of so awful and bad that they're actually entertaining to watch as a comedy.
Oh, yeah, I love watching them, actually. My friend Darcy and I are working on setting a date to get together to watch a bunch of the Twilight movies together. We're going to snuggle up on the couch, we're going to watch them and just laugh our asses off.
the CGI of the baby is so bad. It's the worst CGI ever put into a movie. Okay, anyways.
So bad.
Yeah,
Like, you really couldn't find a group of siblings.
Oops. Hang on. I hate it
Like,
when
you couldn't find a group of siblings to put together, like, you know that there are kids out there who are really close in age and they all look enough alike that you could have just, like, had a real child at the age that the child needed to be.
Anyways, okay. Well, I was joking about Twilight. We are not going to talk about Twilight. Except I need to know if you're Team Jacob or Team Edward.
I'm Team fucking chuck them both off a cliff. Jesus Christ. Although, you want to know what? If I had to say, I'm going to have to go Team Jacob. Because, like, before he did that creepy imprinting on a baby thing, he was a nice person. He was, like, a decent human being. And let's be honest, Edward Cullen is a fucking crazy stalker who gaslights his girlfriend and climbs in her window to watch her sleep.
Not to mention...
And now you're normalizing that for young women to think that, oh, it's so romantic that he came into my house.
Not to mention she's 17 and he's like 140. So yeah. Anyways, okay.
Fucking...
We're done talking about Twilight now. So we don't drive away everybody.
This is great content. I don't know what you're talking about.
Bash on all kinds of other fantasy properties, but so...
Well, you want to know what? We can get into how 50 Shades of Grey started out as Twilight fanfic.
Come with me, my little spider monkey. That's an actual line from Twilight.
And I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude.
Okay, since we're on tangents, we still can't get over when we did tangents on what spoilers. The worst line ever uttered in a movie that will make you laugh out loud. And again, this is not a great movie, guys. So before you roast me for mentioning this, the movie Street Fighter that came out way in the past, okay? There is a line in that movie that is so damn funny that I literally laughed out loud, and I think it was unintentionally funny. Jean-Claude Van Damme, a military guy, turns to him because he orders somebody to do something, and they go, "Have you lost your mind?" And Jean-Claude Van Damme utters this line. He goes, "Have you lost your balls?" I'm telling you, in the context of seeing it, I just fucking lost it. Now I'm swearing. Look what you did to me, you pirate sailor.
Fucking welcome.
Watch your mouth.
So... Okay. Let's talk about... No, you're not the boss of me. Let's talk about times when you laugh out loud at points in time that are extremely inappropriate. When I was in college, I went with some of my girlfriends to see Meet Joe Black. That's the one with Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert for Meet Joe Black, if anybody cares. So there's that part where he gets hit by a bus. Just like fucking BAM! Like flies through the air, hit by a fucking bus. Dead silent in the theater.
Or my video is going to be demonetized, Jess.
I'm sorry, I forgot. He got hit by a bus, though. Dead silent in the theater. And I'm like, no way that just happened, like out loud in a dead silent theater. And then everybody started laughing. And I was like, oops.
Yep.
I didn't have to say that out loud.
Okay, back to Wheel of Time for a minute. I'm all over the tangents today. It's the ADHD. Okay. We were talking about the panel though, and I think this is how we got off topic with talking about accents, and I don't even know how we got where we got. But okay, back to the panel. What are you excited? Do you think that they're how much? I guess here's the way I want to phrase this. How much information do you think they're going to give us? Because I feel like they've been pretty forthcoming lately in terms of like, oh, here's what happens and stuff. Like, I don't know. What do you think? Like, I have not. You've been to more cons than I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what do you feel like people typically do at these things in your mind?
Well, in fairness, most of the panels that I have been to have been for people. They haven't been like promotional appearances. They weren't people who were showing up before the thing happened. They were showing up because people were fans of shit they already did. So, Carl Urban and, Amy Pond from Doctor Who and shit like that. But I am absolutely certain that they have been or will be briefed by Amazon on what they can say and what they can't. I don't
Keep in
think that
mind,
we
it's
will.
already been recorded. It's pre-recorded.
Okay, so they will have been
Yeah.
briefed on what they can say, what they can't. I'm sure that there are parts of the plot that they want to keep on the down low because you don't want to, ruin it or whatever. We might get some information, given that the people who are going to be going to this panel are probably mostly going to be fans of the books. I could see that maybe we would get some information on things that changed. But yeah, I don't know how much sort of this is what happened stuff we're going to get. I'm just looking at it, like trying to put myself in the shoes of the creators and stuff and, not wanting to give too much of that away.
I feel like we'll get a lot of interpretations of characters. And I think you also have to keep in mind, too, who the audience is. Like, the audience for these things is not just us. Like, they're doing these things as promotional. And so,
Right.
like, I feel like they're going to try to get people excited, but maybe not necessarily reveal the plot, per se. That all being said, I am feeling like we're going to get a trailer. And I say that for this reason. Number one, Amazon is hyping up this panel. Number two, it does feel like we've kind of gone with the initial trailer was like a big spike, and then we're kind of a lot less is being hyped up right now.
Yeah, we're coming down off the high.
Yeah, so I feel like it's about time to bump that up because we're now we're a little bit more than a month out from the release of the show. I know there is also, I can speak to this. I don't know that I can say more than this, but I know there is more of a marketing strategy at play as well. Like I know there's some things they are planning on doing. So like, I know this isn't all they've got left. Right. And I think we're going to see another trailer. I really do. I initially didn't think we were going to see a trailer. I thought we would probably see a clip from the show. But I'm starting to feel a little bit more like it's probably trailer time. And if it isn't a trailer that we get, I imagine we'll get it within a week or two of that anyway.
Yeah, it feels like about the right time for them to drop like the longer trailer. Because yeah, we don't have that much time left before like shit starts happening. So yeah, I feel like that's probably right. And I mean, honestly, if you want to drop your big trailer, doing it at some place like that where you're going to have such a huge audience for it, like, that's where you're going to want to do it. It makes sense.
So, what do you think, like, I know we've already kind of talked about this, so I kind of know what you're going to say, but I'm asking the question for the benefit of everybody else. Like, I feel like in these other, like, if we get the full-length trailer, I think that's going to be a lot more plot-focused. I mean, would you agree with that? Like, I think it's going to kind of explain what this is actually about.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like we'll probably see more of the Emmons Field 5, and I can see there being like a voiceover or something like that talking about, how they're maybe looking for a chosen one. We got a little bit of a hint of it in the first trailer where, Daniel Henney says the Dark One is coming for your friends. We'll maybe get some more insight into exactly what that means, who the friends are, that kind of thing. Yeah, I feel like they're going to probably outline, like, at least at a high level, what this is actually about.
I feel like maybe what I'm about to say is coming from the fact that I was so blown away at the things we saw in the first trailer that I didn't think we'd see. But I have a feeling there's like one oh shit moment that we're going to have in this trailer of like, oh my God, that's the Age of Legends, or that's Lews Therin, or you know what I mean? Like thinking like something like that as they're trying to explain the plot. Maybe even just a clip of Lews Therin dying and Dragonmount forming. Like some CGI.
Yeah.
Like where you can kind of maybe not understand what it is, but like
you can tell that it's huge and really super important.
I could see something like that coming. And I'm not saying it will be that. So I'm just thinking like something along the lines of like oh shit, that kind of a thing there. I am super excited for it though, because I took the day off, and it's like I'm trying to think through like, oh my gosh, here we go, the blitz again of like how to make all these videos super quick to break down whatever they release or whatever right. And how that goes as a creator. It's like it's almost like nerve-wracking to a degree to be ready for this. And it's like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm thinking, wait till the show comes out and what we have to do for that, which is it's a very exciting time. So, and in reality, guys, I can't say more than this. This is just an exciting time for the Wheel of Time in general, because I feel like in the next, obviously with the show coming out, that's okay. I'm joking. That's very exciting.
Yeah, show whatever. Yeah, no big deal.
But like, there's other things coming that I think the fandom has to be excited about. Some of which Jess and I are involved in, and I'm just excited for that. So, it's going to be a good time. Good time to be a Wheel of Time fan.
It is a great time to be alive as a Wheel of Time fan.
Yes, it is.
Yes, really exciting. Like, I almost swore again.
She can't. Now, if you want to hear Jess swear nonstop, actually, you know what's funny? You don't really swear that much on the podcast. You've sworn more in this than you do in the podcast.
You want to know what? Because I think it's mostly when I just get real wound up.
Mm-hmm.
Or when I'm in the company of other people who are swearing a lot.
Brian swears a lot.
What's that?
Brian swears a lot.
Oh yeah, Brian swears a lot. But yeah, I think I swear a lot, maybe in like, short bursts.
Well, for those of you who aren't aware, this might be a good time for this. For those of you, well, I think you'll still enjoy this. I've done this a couple times. I've played these clips. Jess and I are part of a podcast called Twilight After Dark. We'll take this moment here to talk about it real quick.
Yeah.
It is a very different type of podcast. Like, how do you describe our podcast to people, Jess?
I usually describe it as like part sketch comedy, part news, part just general bullshit.
Yeah.
Wheel of Time related. I think the sketch comedy portion of it is especially what sort of sets us apart from other shows. And honestly, I think that we're really funny.
I think we're a very good dynamic, because we actually also do, I mean, it is funny. We do sketch comedy stuff. I'll play a clip here in a minute so you guys can get a feel for that. But we also talk, I think, about, we have very differing opinions on things, but not so much that we hate each other. And I think our discussions are actually really good. I'm sure other people in the chat that listen could probably say one way or the other, but if you are not a podcast person, of which I am not a podcast person really, I would challenge you to check it out. And I will play a clip for you here real quick that I think you all may or may not enjoy. Here we go.
I was winning too much in the end with my lucky dice, and now they are accusing me of cheating. I'd better call Gall.
I just happened to be hanging out with a murderer and someone saw it. Now they're accusing me of being a dark friend. Time to call Gall.
I'm a High Lord of Tyr, and one of the lowly peasants got mad that I murdered his brother for looking me in the eyes. Now the Dragon Reborn wants to cut my head off. I better call Gall.
Hi, I'm Gall. Have you been accused of something and you don't want anyone to think you actually did it? Do you want to get away with it? I believe everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and I can make sure no one is left alive to prove you're guilty. You better call Gall. I will stab the fuck out of your accuser with spears, making sure there is no one left alive to actually find you guilty of a crime. So, if someone has accused you of a crime, or they want to kill you, I will kill them first. You better call Gall.
Oh, that one remains one of my favorites that we've ever done, because I love the part where you're like, because I killed his brother for looking me in the eyes. And I don't know why that makes me laugh so much, but it really does. And then when Brian's like, Hi.
I'm Gall.
I'm Gall.
If you're
And I
wondering
just lose it.
If you're wondering what the hell that was, we do commercials sometimes. So like we have like sketches and then we do a commercial each episode like that one that are all Wheel of Time based. So anyways, Rachel is officially deceased. So
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Rachel. I'll pour one out for you.
May the last embrace of the mother welcome you home, or whatever, however that goes. I'm bad at remembering that. I'm bad at remembering most things, really.
But you can find where can they find our podcast? They can find it on thegreatbite.com/Tarval After Dark, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, wherever you get your podcasts. Our ass is everywhere.
So, okay. Back to Wheel of Time discussion. So,
yes.
We've got this coming, right? And I think, like, again, we won't have a ton to necessarily, like, talk about this second. Here we go. Sorry. We got another tip here. The Citizen Kane of podcasts. I'm not sure if that means it's, like, a good one or...
I think that means that it's a classic that nobody really understands why.
Maybe. It's not good, but yet people talk about it like it is. That sounds about accurate. Anyways, well, I was going to say...
People learn about it in podcast class in college.
If you want more of this just meandering nonsense, subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, that's our brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to say this. So, like, I don't know that we're going to have a ton of... It's sort of hard to speculate in terms of what we're going to get because we don't really know. I imagine at this thing we're going to get discussions from the individual cast. They'll ask them basically vanilla softball questions. They're not going to be hard-hitting like anything, right? They'll try to set us up for the changes, which we know are coming, etc., right? But that being said... what are you personally like in the first episode? Like, you know, in your head, like how you have like a criteria of like, this is going to be good or it's going to be bad. Like for you, what is the bar for you? Like, when will you think, okay, this is good or this is okay? Or is it like, you're going to watch it and go, this is hot garbage? And while you think about that question, man fear time, Adam, I'm not sure what man fear time means. If that means that, you need me to do like that was man fear. I think that's what that was. Anyways, back to your question.
Still makes me laugh every time you do it.
Yeah. What is the criteria for you?
That's really, you know what? That's really difficult to say because, especially knowing that everything is going to be kind of different. It's going to be different than how I imagined. There are things that are going to be different than what they were in the books. And we already know that just from a lot of the stuff that we saw in the trailer. I think that I feel like we'll be able to see pretty quickly whether they are staying true to the spirit of the story. And I feel like, you know, we'll be able to see that very quickly. It's also something that could really change at any point in time, depending on how, you know, writing goes. And if, people change, if they end up changing the showrunner and it's somebody other than Rafe or whatever. You know, it is something that can change any time. But yeah, I really feel like that's probably going to be the biggest thing. If I feel like they're not being true to the story, that, like, to the spirit of it, not the word, not to the letter, but to the spirit of it, that I think is when I'm going to start having an issue.
So this may sound controversial for me because I'm expecting it to be very different. Okay. So like I am maybe coming into it with the mentality that I'm not getting the books. And I've come to terms with that long ago, where I really am looking at this as a different turning of the wheel. As much as people accuse me of being an Amazon shill, here's the part people will see. No, right? I wish. Here's the part that I think people will probably see later on. Like, I'm actually a pretty nitpicky critic when it comes to writing. I've said this. I am. How do I put this? I am going to be pretty harsh on the writing if I think it's bad. I can get away with changes that I feel like are written well or that have thematic meaning to them or whatever it would be. If you're able to drive home a point, good television writing backs like can cover a number of different change evils or whatever we want to look at it that way. So. For me, I'll be okay with plot changes to a small degree, although I want the story to remain somewhat the same. I've come to terms with that. Where my line is going to be is if I think there's clunky dialogue or the writing is rough, because I think the acting is going to be good. I'm not worried about that.
But really, a good actor can only do so much with what they're given, and if it's bad, like no amount of great acting is going to make it not bad.
Right. And once the initial fan service, like I'll give you a great example of this. So I know you were not a Game of Thrones watcher per se. Right?
I was a reader.
So, but you do know of all the huge letdown that the final 2 seasons were, specifically the final season. But I mean, the last 3 seasons were really suspect. The final battle with the Night King, which is like episode 3 of season 8. When I watched the episode live, I got sucked into the drama of it. In the sense that it was exciting and it was like somewhat thrilling because you've been waiting for this moment. And so when that episode finished, I remember feeling like, oh, like that was intense. But then I was like, wait a minute, that episode was terrible. Like it was horribly written. Like what the fuck were they doing? Oh, I did it. Dang it. But what were they doing? Like, why did they do this? Like that was so stupid. And like, then I just started feeling like, and it fed into the thing that I had been saying, and people were roasting me. My friends were, when I started saying that I thought season 6 and 7 were bad. I thought they were bad, and then season 8 was it was awful bad. I could make a whole channel talking about how awful Game of Thrones ended. And that's all writing. Like they totally ruined what I think could have been the best television show of all time. And it was totally ruined by writing. So that's my biggest worry with the Wheel of Time show. Not because I'm actually worried about it, like I think they don't know how to write or something. I've got nothing to make me think that. But up until season, like really even through season 5, like you had no idea that Game of Thrones would make the turn that it did. Right? We didn't know that it would go that bad. So... in any case, I'm fairly critical of writing. That's my breaking point right there.
Yeah, and you want to know what? I think that's really super valid because, like Rayor says, great writing will carry you through poor effects, acting, all of that. You know, if it's well written, it can cover a multitude of ills. But if you have it the opposite, it's very difficult to come back from that. And I think that it might have been a short that Daniel recorded on his YouTube or something where he was talking about how he just really doesn't understand why they're trying to bring the Game of Thrones franchise back because everybody is so disillusioned with it at this point because, you know, it was kind of on a decline and then season 8 just tanked the whole thing and like nobody wants it anymore. Like everybody's over it. But they're bringing this series or whatever it is that they're doing, and you know, I feel like that's a huge gamble because like Game of Thrones hurt people and they're not over it.
You know, and it's weird. I'm not at all excited for these prequel shows, and I would have been had they ended the series well. It was just I'm still at a loss. I mean, there are books that can be written about how they ruined that. For the first 5 seasons, and arguably for the first 4 seasons, but I would say season 5 even I would include in this, are literally some of like the pinnacle of television. Like it's so good. Go back and rewatch it. Like
I mean, honestly,
you can't
water cooler level discussions in a way that I have never seen. You know, especially with a fantasy series, people coming in to work the next day and talking in the kitchen about all of the shit that happened on Game of Thrones the night before. And let me tell you, as somebody who read all the books, watching everybody's faces the day after the Red Wedding was delightful.
Right.
But,
I even knew it was coming. Well, obviously I knew it was coming. I'd read the books, but like I knew it was coming, and it still got me because they did it a little different, and I think they did it. I'm gonna say this crazy. I think they did it better in the show than they did in the books. And like, how you ruin that? Like how you go from what is universally thought of as one of the greatest television shows of all time, and you throw away everything that made it good. You kill the character arcs. I mean, it's so bad.
You know, and what's really wild to me is that, like, it was all laid out for them. Like, it was all laid out for them, and Martin used to be a TV writer anyway, and he was working on the show. Like, who's going to be more qualified to make the switch from the book into a screenplay than the guy who wrote it, who also knows how to write screenplays? You know, like, what changed? Like, was there personnel change or something like that? Did they get new writers, new directors, showrunners?
He stopped being involved in it.
Okay.
And I'll take it even this far. The writing is only a part of it, because the writing was bad. But they could have, if they wanted to do what they did, and I guess at this point, do you care about end of Game of Thrones spoilers?
No.
Okay. So they take Dany, who's this messiah figure, and they turn her into her dad. She turns in basically to the Mad King and burns down King's Landing, right?
Yep. Heard about that.
It comes out of fucking dang it. It comes out of nowhere.
I'm a bad influence.
They didn't mean it to come out of nowhere, but it kind of does.
I'm
not
sure.
sure.
I've heard a lot of debate that people are like, oh, this came out of nowhere, and other people are like, honestly, it really kind of didn't. And, you know, that seems to be a point of contention for people.
The fact that it's a point of contention means that it came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like it. But if they decided, they were offered to do a whole other season and to do full-length seasons, and they turned it down because they wanted to go do Star Wars. The minute I heard that they were leaving Game of Thrones to go do Star Wars, I'm like, ooh, they're fucked. This is fucked. The series is fucked. Like, I knew when they were staying on, but they were going to go leave and do something they wanted to do more. I knew that it was not going to. Which is so sad. They could have if I were HBO, I would have said, see ya, and got new people to run.
Yeah, honestly, like, okay, well, we don't need you.
They lost themselves so much money because, yes, they're going to do these prequels, but they will not get nearly the attention that they would, because people are so burned on the way that ended. So anyways, again, we've talked about another fantasy series here, but for me, like, what I'm desperately hoping is that I don't need to be critical of the Wheel of Time for bad writing. And I will be. Like, if I think the writing sucks, I'll say it. Because it will be obvious if the writing sucks.
Yeah.
And I want really good writing. Now, I'm not setting myself up where I expect this to be The Wire in terms of how well it's written. Like, The Wire, I think, is one of the best written shows ever. But I don't think that it needs to be the best written show, but it needs to be good. Does that make sense? Like, is that fair?
No, it's absolutely fair. I mean, especially when you're taking something. I mean, writing always has to be good for a show, but when you're translating it from a book, and I feel like particularly if you're looking at sci-fi and fantasy, like, those don't necessarily hit you in the head with, like, you know, the themes and, you know, shit stuff like that, where good writing is going to be absolutely critical in not only translating those themes, but also making sure that, like, they make sense in the context of the story, the way that it's going on screen, you know? And if it's not well done, I feel like a lot of times there's really no middle ground on it. Like, it's got to be good or it's got to be bad. Like,
right. Well, that's one of the things I'm excited to be critical of that. You know, I'm excited that we get to review it. I'm hoping that it is good because obviously I have a channel that talks about the Wheel of Time, but if it's bad, it is what it is. Now, we're getting close. I usually end the show at about an hour, but I want to mention something because I need to. This is a pop culture quiz here real quick, but let me tell a quick story. My sister got married. So Jess, you know this because I told you all about it. But my sister got married to her longtime girlfriend like a week ago. So my brother-in-law officiates weddings. Like he's one of those guys that he's ordained to do it, so he does them. And so he officiated their wedding. He did it with one of my other brother-in-laws. So they kind of co-officiated this wedding. Now, one of them, we're joking, he was a little nervous before the wedding. So we're sitting there like with the bridal party. He's pretty nervous before the wedding. And I was like, oh, it's okay. If you forget what to say, just turn to the crowd and go, marriage. And he looked at me like, what? And I said, you don't know what I'm talking about? And I was like, have you ever seen The Princess Bride? And now, again, he is our age.
Uh-huh.
How in the hell have you not seen or heard of The Princess Bride? So
absolute cultural touchstone. Where have you been?
So here's a question I need to understand from everybody in the crowd. So I'm not crazy.
No.
Have you all seen The Princess Bride? Like, if I said marriage, would you know what?
Marriage is what brings us together today. And love.
And then I said, in my response to him not knowing, I said, inconceivable. And he didn't get that either. But, so,
classic.
Okay, poll for the crowd. Have you seen The Princess Bride? So I see a no, which is okay.
There are
it's
a couple
not bad
no's.
that you haven't seen it. I'm just curious if people have or haven't. Because, like, by the way, The Princess Bride, while people are answering that question, is an adaptation. And it's a completely different adaptation. And I think it can be argued that the movie is better than the books.
Princess Bride is the first movie that Rich and I watched together. When we got together. We were long distance, and so we watched it together on the phone because this was before like video conferencing and shit like that was really a thing. So we watched it, we queued it up, so we both started our DVDs at the same time, and then we were on the phone together while we were watching it. And when we got married, my friend Brad kicked off the ceremony with the hat, and he did the whole thing, and it was great.
It's one of the most quotable movies of all time.
Absolutely.
Ebonopwa, you keep using that word. I don't think it means
I do not think it means what you think it means. Mandy Patinkin, an absolute gem of an actor and a human being. Did you see they did they brought the cast back together for a script reading as a fundraiser for like the DNC or something like that. I don't even know if it's available for people to see anymore, but we watched it and oh god, it was spectacular. Like Mandy still had the sword, and so like he was like posing on camera and shit, and oh my god, it was so good.
And
it was just an absolute delight.
And oh my gosh, I need to watch that now.
Yeah, I really want to watch it now too. If you have not
seen The Princess Bride, you should watch The Princess Bride.
You should. It's really good. It's like it's a cult classic. It was small film, I think fairly low budget, but it was just one of those really like special kind of magical moments where they knew they were making something special, and they really were. It's a fantastic movie. 100% holds up. Just so good. That blessed arrangement. That dweem within a dweem. The man and wife.
I love that you have the speech memorized. That's great.
I have a lot of really useless shit like that in my head, so you're welcome.
I definitely need to watch that. I was thinking, and actually I might do this anyway. Let's see how this plays out, because due to your F-bombs, this video is going to get demonetized anyway.
I'm so sorry. Can you... I was going to say, you need to bleep me. I need a bleep button.
Hold on. We're going to play a quick scene here. If I can find it.
Very simple.
Oh, we can't do the ads. I don't know if you're allowed to like stream YouTube videos while you're on YouTube, so we're gonna figure this out right now together.
Yeah, let's do it. It's a journey.
But since we already dropped so many F-bombs on this chat anyway, I think we're gonna get demonetized. Marriage.
There are so many people quoting it in the
It's
in the
because
comments here.
it is. What am I doing?
Plato, Socrates, morons.
Okay, here we go.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today. Marriage, that blessed arrangement, that dream within a dream.
Okay. I think we'll call it.
God, I love it so much. Oh God, so good.
I love the captions. Marriage.
Also, I love that in the credits at the end, he is the impressive clergyman.
That was his title.
That's the name of his character, the impressive clergyman.
Oh my. Anyways, I was just shocked that he had not seen that movie, and I totally wanted my other brother-in-law flipped out on him because he's like, "How have you not seen that?" And I told him, I was like, and my sister even said, "You're welcome to say that in my wedding." Like,
Excellent
he
taste.
didn't do it. I was so mad because if he had gotten up there and he just started with marriage,
It would have killed. It
It
would have
would've.
killed.
half the people, but then the people that haven't seen it would be like, "What is going on? Is he making fun of people or something?" Like, anyways.
It's the FOMO. Oh God, so good.
Ah, great. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. Jess, thanks for
Yeah,
coming
this is
on.
fun.
I mean, next week we're gonna have so much to talk about, so it's gonna be kind of
man.
crazy. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Any last things you want to say to the people?
You should definitely listen to our podcast.
Yeah, you should.
And that podcast is Tarvalon After Dark. Don't forget it. And I also have a YouTube channel. I'm the Emerlin Study. I do reaction videos. And, yeah. People seem to like them okay, so there's that. I like to think I'm funny, so...
You're pretty funny. Looking.
Huh. Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, and you should definitely check all of those things out. Last thing I will say, we are going to be in Discord shortly, in my Discord. If you are a Discord person, after this, we kind of get together and chat at each other. If you'd like to join us, click the
I
link.
should. I don't think I'm even in your server. I'm a bad friend.
Yeah, you are an awful friend.
Terrible friend.
Click the link in the description of the video. Join Discord, pop into the voice chat, and talk.
Yay!
With that, we are going to head out. Thank you guys for joining. Now, again, we'll be back here for the live show a week from today, where we will have a crap ton of things to talk about, I'm sure. And of course, we have all the other things coming up. We'll have news videos Friday, all kinds of things coming out. So we will see then. Guys, thanks for joining.
I'm sorry that I swore so much. I didn't mean to take food from your mouth.
It's all good. It's a live stream, so it's okay. Peace out, everybody.
Bye!